Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this Day of National Matters, the 3rd of June. I'm your pastor and host, Pastor Moses Chiluba. On my immediate left, I have Ambassador EMMANUEL MWAMBA. Welcome to the program.
Good evening, sir. Good evening to your dear audience. Glad to be back on CAMNET. It's been some time.
Absolutely. And on my far left is a civil rights activist, Mr. BREBNER, CHANGALA.
That's correct. Good evening, viewers, and thanks for inviting me.
Amen. And our topic today is human rights. As we come together, I want you, Ambassador, and Mr. CHANGALA, to be as balanced as you can be. I have noticed something. I must spell it out from the onset. Ambassador, we come a long way, by the way, on a personal level.
Okay.
He has seen me, he has known my preaching. When when Dr. Kaunda was president, this is what I noticed. MMD was coming. I was left at an island because President Kaunda thought I was a brother to President Chiluba, and my preaching was like I was against him. President Chiluba was suspicious of me because the MMD thought I was UNIP because of the statement that I uttered, which introduced me to President Sata, by the way. When I said this statement, I'll repeat, and I quote, I said, the people of Zambia, don't get excited. That change is coming. MMD is coming. Without God, this change, you come and condemn it later. There is no man who can change the affairs in Zambia without God. End of quote. Just that put me in position that I'm UNIP. But I'm so glad Dr. Kaunda came and went. UNIP came, MMD came in power.
And wait.
I don't want to go through this, Mr. CHANGALA. I've been there.
Yes.
Just between PF and UPND, I am on record, and the world is seeing. UPND executive members are seeing here. CAMNET was the only television station that gave that gave UPND 45 live programs, unedited, unedited, and the adverts, everything. Why? Because I was a pastor, and everyone loved me for being fair. Today, I'm still being condemned that I'm PF. So I love this. I love this situation where, I've been through I've been in the wilderness of loneliness, and I'm used to that. Now calling you here to discuss human rights, I hope it doesn't just begin from UPND to now, and we think this is human rights, because I can stretch my mind way back to UNIP, to MMD, to PF, and now to this government. Am I right, Ambassador, or I'm wrong in my analysis?
Thank you for the wonderful introduction. We started as a multi-party democracy promoting human rights and democracy in 1964. But by 1968, political violence had taken root and intolerance, both within UNIP and in the country, and there were two factions at the time, UNIP and the ANC. Then Dr. Kaunda used the issue of political violence at the time as an excuse to introduce one-party state, because he claimed that the breeding intolerance was promoting tribalism, was promoting political intolerance, and he then established a one-party state. Many people will remember that that was a quick descent to dictatorship and autocracy, because views were not allowed, freedom of expression suffered, police abuse and police brutality then reigned in, and then we saw heightened, at the time they were calling it vigilantes, like Kadarism we call it now. So by 1991, 17 years later, the whole country and Africa was celebrating that Zambia is returning to democracy. Zambia is returning to respect of human rights. 91, when the MMD was ushered in. They came on a platform to promote democracy. They came on a platform to promote human rights. You saw even the establishment of agencies like the Human Rights Commission. This was essentially to promote the respect and dignity of human rights in this country. And over the years, again, we've descended. I think largely because of the Constitution, we haven't had an opportunity to reform our Constitution, that although we finally became a one-party state, we still had legislation that stifled freedom of expression. We still had laws like criminal defamation of the president. We still had law enforcement agencies being given leverage to abuse citizens. That's been our history, and every government has been battling and fighting with the issue of human rights. In 2021, in the last elections in August 2021, President Hakainde Hichilema won elections, and he touts himself as one who has restored peace, one who has brought freedoms, one who has brought enhanced democracy. But just 20 months on, it is not to be. I think as the details will emerge. But here is a president who said he's opening up space, that he will allow tolerance in the country, that will allow freedom of expression to reign, that will allow freedom of association, and political parties can gather, and social formations can articulate their issues. But it has not to be, as we will cite the reports. Maybe I may end there before I go into other details.
Mr. Changala, what's your take on what I said, that there has been human rights abuses from UNIP, MMD, PM, and now UPND?
That is correct. I can safely say that three of us have been around into those administrations you have mentioned. UNIP, MMD, Patriotic Front, and later on our colleagues in the UPND. The main challenge that we face many times is politicians. They come in many colors of honest in appearance, but highly dishonest in many ways. As if he gave us a historical background of these abuses. UNIP governed this country during a period of liberation struggle in the SADC region. And Zambia was a base for many freedom fighters. And for that reason, there were many excuses in terms of security for the police, the intelligence to abuse its own citizens. Fast forward comes 1991, we're a democracy. And many laws should have changed which entrenched the UNIP. But alas, very few changed. And they used them to abuse their own citizens under a constitutional democracy. And there was a laissez-faire or no need to change anything because they didn't want to remain naked. They thought the abuse of the people, the abuse that is a brutality attributed to the police is a sign of strength by those who govern others. Then MMD lost power in 2011. There came PF. The only thing we experience is the change of human beings. Where there was Rupiah Banda came Michael Sata.
Yeah.
Where there was Michael Sata came Edgar Chagwarungu. And structural changes to the laws that governs our rights, freedoms and liberties were never strengthened. Or we remained a police state, quote unquote. Then President Hakainde Hichilema and the UPND, who I must confess were highly brutalized under the Patriotic Front, gave us hope because of their experience that in their first 100 years or in their first 1 year in power, 100 days rather, and 1 year in power, they will make a move to make structural changes to the to many laws that are actually of colonial nature. But alas, you can see, they're having the grip on power and they retain those laws which they are subsequently using against their own citizens. People are being picked unceremoniously from non-designated areas, not from their homes. People are being locked up without charge for more than a week. People are being tortured. These are facts. They might argue, and people are literally being abused. And one wonders that people who suffered so much, who understands how a policeman can abuse his office on behalf of those people they call, we are getting instructions from the above. I don't know who is above. He's always there above. And them, the UPND, are now running this country. They don't want to change any single law that abuses the citizens because they are good men. These are the same laws that PF used. These are the same laws they are using, but they are claiming they will never abuse them because they are good men. I have always advocated for strong institutions and good laws, not good men. This country must be run through a constitution that protects all, including those who are sent to power. And the challenge we face today is that it's very sad if you take time, Pastor, to visit some of the cells, not the remand prison, by the way. It's very funny. Just the police cells, and listen to the stories, just as I do from time to time. There are names that are known. These are ordinary citizens who have been put on a Campero. Campero was last in UNIP. But I'm told the Campero is back at force headquarters. People have been, you know, you put somebody, you tie their hands and legs, then put a metal in between so that you obtain a confession in the absence of a lawyer. That's banditry, it's criminality.
Are you referring to the case of this Indian?
No.
Who was...
No.
From which place is this? Is an Indian?
Yeah, Rizwan Patel. He's a Zambian.
But I have not spoken to that gentleman. I think last month I visited Woodlands police station. I went to see this guy called Zumani. Zumani Zimba was detained there on these terrorism charges. Then I found 3 other gentlemen who I don't think the media has even picked. They told me across some story on how they were picked up, how they were tortured, how they were being told to link the former president ECL to Gassing, and they were threatening them in all manner and style. I said, this is happening in Zambia? Unbelievable.
Where are the human rights organizations?
We have a Human Rights Commission. Again, you must give it a background, how we have this Human Rights Commission. Human Rights Commission was set up by the MMD government under Frederick Chiluba, and it was headed by Bruce Munyama, who went around the country to get information as how the UNIP government ran this country, how people were being killed, how people disappeared, how people were being tortured, how people were literally being arrested and thrown into jail for longer periods without trial, without going to court. Bruce Munyama produced a report which recommended the setting up of the Human Rights Commission. And it has ever since operated in a manner I can fairly call fair. It was headed by the same Bruce Munyama, if you remember. It has been headed by our current Chief Justice, Mumba Madila. It was one time headed by Professor Chanda from
Transparency International.
Yes, University of Zambia and Transparency International. Lately or recently, it was headed by Madford Mwandenga, who is now a High Court judge. And if you remember, in the last phase of the PF, the Human Rights Commission was very alert. It was releasing reports on real time as events unfold to warn and sometimes castigate the Patriotic Front. It was very active. It became visible. But under the UPND, unfortunately, the Human Rights Commission has gone to sleep. The commissioners don't seem to be available for anything. And this is a worrisome trend. And I do realize that to some extent, some of the commissioners are too close to the oppressor, to the system, and they are failing to place it in check. And as you can see, the executive, through the police, are now a loose cannon. Thank you.
I want to ask a question, Mr. Changala.
Yes.
You are a political activist. I just
Yes.
want to ask, which party do you belong to?
I belong to no party.
Or you don't belong to?
For various reasons, I don't associate myself to political party. My last political party, in which I was very, very active, is FDD.
FDD in 2001.
Yes, in 2001, when we were fighting the third term. Thereafter, I was kicked out by a visitor in our party, our colleague, Antonio Mwanza. And I realized I didn't need to join a political party because I enjoy a free mind. So I sat home and made a decision that I don't need to join a political party where I'll be expelled from time to time. So I decided to use my NRSC as my organization.
Ambassador.
Yeah, thank you very much.
We're talking about human rights. In 3-4 minutes, just narrate your event. We just read about it on social media. Narrate your event. What happened?
Oh, okay.
Just in a few.
Before I come to my event, I wanted to lay the background. The United States government, to every country they fund, it's mandatory for them. That's the rules of their constitution and the rules of Congress, that they must establish the practice of human rights where they've spent money abroad. And there's a report that was issued for 2022 on Zambia. This is under President Hakainde Hichilema. The report is titled 2022 Country Report on Human Rights Practices.
This is the report from the US?
From the US. And it's on State Department and White House websites. So our citizens can go there and download these copies. They are public documents, and the US is very transparent. They publish these documents on their government website. So it's on White House website, and it is on State Department, like government department. It's been issued by the Bureau of Democracy, Human Rights and Labor. And this is the summary it has established. That in Zambia in 2022, first it has recognized that Zambia went to elections in 2021. President Hakainde Hichilema came in, President Edgar Lungu peacefully handed over power. You know, it has done the foundation. Now it's talking about 2022. It's not talking about the past. It's talking about 2022. And it says there were extensive, numerous abuses committed by members of the internal security forces. And it has cited mostly the police. And it says there was significant human rights issues that included credible reports. Number one, unlawful or arbitrary killings, including extrajudicial killings, torture and cruel, inhuman or degrading treatment or punishment by government, harsh and life-threatening prison conditions, as BREBNER CHANGALA was talking about. There were serious restrictions on freedom of expression, freedom of the media, and this included violence and threats of violence against journalists, censorship, enforcement of the threat to criminal libel laws to limit freedom of expression. There was substantial interference with the rights of freedom of assembly and association. There was serious government corruption and the existence and enforcement of laws criminalizing same-sex sexual conduct. You know, the issue of gay for them, they also list it there. My point is, under President Hakainde Hichilema, these abuses were committed. People being picked up. My dear brother Christopher Shakafuswa, who's a member of parliament for Mandevu, he is with his family at a shopping mall. He's picked like a criminal from a shopping mall by the police. They said they're looking for him. He asked, can't you issue a call out? Am I a person of no fixed abode? Similarly, Munia Zulu, member of parliament for Lumezi, is leaving parliament. They trail him, he goes to a hotel for a meeting, and they pick him out at a hotel like a wanted criminal. You have Robert Kalimi, who's Malole, member of parliament. For almost a civil matter, is treated in the same way. We've been calling these abductions because they pick you up without notice, without knowledge to your lawyers, and sometimes in a dehumanizing manner in public and before your for example, family members, including children. He raised the issue of torture. The US reports even cites the specific examples. The matter you've raised of Chris Zumani, his co-accused were tortured. They've filed affidavits in court in an application for bail where they've detailed how they were tortured. Excessive torture. Like he's saying, some of the horror stories, we last heard them in UNIP. They are being practiced now. These documents were deposited in the court of law. Because if you are lying, the courts can, can send you to jail for lying. My case is a specific case.
Before you come to your case, Honorable Ambassador, fill me in. when you say that there is excessive torture, which was happening way back before PF, before UPND, are you saying that in PF there was no torture? There was no excessive torture, or what?
I think these are practices that have been abandoned for years. President Hakainde Hichilema has been arrested for 15 times. In all his submissions, you never heard that a police officer lay hands on him, or brutalized him, or beat him, or assaulted him.
In fact, he called them professional.
In all the 15 times the president, other than the time when they stormed his house and I think they discharged tear gas, and maybe the police officers misconducted themselves. But you can see on all his arrests, he was never treated in the manner that we are being treated. And that I can challenge. Yeah, there could have been political violence, cadreism, but professional misconduct. Pastor, I was very sad when I heard the ministerial statement, because members of parliament raised this issue of abductions, torture, and police brutality. And the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security, I was very sad to listen to him, because like all human rights report, including this one, they say the police are emboldened when the political leadership supports their action. They become more brutal. So to see a Minister of Home Affairs who's supposed to take serious action against these reports of abductions and torture, to justify the conduct of the police, to justify what they're calling minimum use of force by the police, was very sad in a democracy where we are supposed to promote human rights, respect for human rights, and dignity to all human beings. It doesn't have to be politicians, all human beings.
I want to take you a step back, and this is for a reason, Mr. Changala.
Yes.
Whenever there are tortures, there are any misconduct by the police, it is always said the president has instructed. Now, those things, I need clarity from both of you who've been in the political arena.
Yeah.
You cited the people going to President HH and break his house, the doors, that kind of treatment. Would you say that was instructed by the president?
First and foremost, get it from me and be clear. What is good for a geese is good for a gander. The UPND is a very good example. But what is unfortunate is that their own actions are coming home to roost. When they were being arrested, which we all condemned, roundly condemned, they accused the police of being sent by one Edgar Chagwa Lungu. Whatever the arrests, they can count how many times they were arrested. Fast forward, they are in power. And people are being arrested, tortured, brutalized. And the same brutality, the police brutality continues. But this time around, they are refusing that the president and these ministers have got nothing to do with it. They are not giving us space as to what made them believe that in the patriotic front, it is Edgar Lungu who used to send these people to arrest whoever they arrested, and the brutality. The important thing which the New Dawn administration should have done when they came into power, because they experienced this police brutality, was to do some structural changes in the manner the police are managed, in the manner the command flows down to the last constable. They've changed nothing, because then they are good men. It won't work. What about the day again when bad men will come? It will be the same. So this brutality, which we are seeing, the torture, is at the behest and command of the commander-in-chief, the president. Because with all these complaints, there's never been any movement in terms of disciplinary action. The president has never shown any desire to stop what happened to him. Probably is on the path of revenge and avenge. That's what I can say. Because he suffered the consequences, serious consequences, under the Patriotic Front. Why should they rear their ugly faces under his command?
Why I'm asking this, Mr. Changala, Ambassador?
Yeah, and I want to come in.
I have the information. During the lockdown in the UK, the Prime Minister issued, government issued the instruction that they should go and enforce this. And the Commissioner of Police, the Inspector General, should send officers to go and enforce house to house.
Yeah.
Now, here is the difference. Right there, the Inspector General of Police said, I have no time for such. I won't send one police officer to do what you want me to do. And he never sent them. And nothing of that sort was effected. And I had to ask my cousin and some people there to say, was he not fired? He said no. Even yesterday we were chatting with my brother in England. He said no, he was not fired. He's still serving. He just said
those
that
institutions. I can tell you something.
Yeah.
The institutions you are referring to in the UK and probably in the States, they are independent because they are well trained and full of, I would say, professionalism. They will not take a political instruction to say go and arrest Pastor Chirua. No, he has to understand why he must arrest Pastor Chirua. Whereas here, they will arrest you, put you in the police cells, you are questioning them, but why am I here? But we are waiting for instructions. From who? But you have already arrested me.
Yeah, but the point that I'm bringing, Mr. Changala, is that the Inspector General answered and said, I have no time to waste. I can't send.
And he kept the job.
An officer, and he kept the job.
Yes.
Now I'm saying here,
if
we are blaming the president, where are you leaving the Inspector General of Police? What is his job if he can't instruct people to say, stop this brutality, stop that? Where is his job?
It can be answered twofold, Pastor. First of all, let me give the example of President Edgar Lungu. Every time there was an uproar that was a matter, whether it's Vespa that was killed or a professional prosecutor that was killed when they were trying to arrest President Hakainde Hichilema, you saw subsequent actions. You saw that the police officer was established who fired the fatal shot and has been prosecuted.
And is in jail.
And is in jail. You then can say a president has acted. You saw party cadres who identified themselves as PF and killed someone in Mutendere who was a UPND cadre. They were fighting over land wrangles. They went in. They were PF cadres. They're serving 25 years, 30 years. It's on record. You saw every time there was an action that there was subsequent counter-action by government. Here we are, in my case, I reported that I was brutalized, and on 2 days later, they went and picked a young man, Rizwan Patel from Petauke, who is also...
Before we go to Patel, narrate your incident. I'm interested.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It was, I think, Wednesday, 14th June, 2.5 weeks ago. I had come from the lawyers. I saw a car trailing me, and I think I've seen it before. It's a green Fortune. I've seen it at service headquarters because, I'm usually the voice for our party. So I usually go in all police stations, when any of our members had been summoned or had been arrested, I've become a bit familiar with those officers. I wondered why the police vehicle was trailing me. What disturbed me was an Indian or a man of Asian origin driving the car. I came to Long Acres. Again, when I finished my work around Long Acres, again I found this vehicle. It had even been joined by another vehicle. And there was this man of Asian origin with a laptop, and there was another car. I even said, so are they trailing me?
A man of an Asian origin, an
Yes.
Indian,
Yes.
was the
On a laptop.
driving that.
And they were parked on the side. So as soon as I came in, I saw the two vehicles parked on the left side. I immediately called my wife and I said, where are you? So she was in town. I said, can we meet home? She says, I'm actually coming home. I said, okay, I'm heading home. I'll wait for you. So before I could go home, I decided to go to the gas station because it was around, to a car wash. It was around 15 hours. It was during the day. And I knew the traffic that is there coming from the CBD area. So I said, okay, let me quickly wash the car and go home. I said, if anyone is looking for me, because these cars are clearly trailing me, they should find me home. So I went to the car wash. Minutes after I arrived, 3 vehicles stormed the area. This car wash is on Mosotunia Road after Lewanika Shopping Mall, the stadium after Woodland Stadium. When you're going to the ring road, it's on the left side. So 3 vehicles immediately stormed in. I looked, I think there were about 12. There could be 9 to 12 people that came out. But being on Mosotunia Road, I've seen that before, because sometimes when the president uses that road in his daily trek from State House to Community House. So I said, maybe there are police officers or intelligence people doing their usual guard way. But I saw they headed towards me. And there were a few of us in the shelter. You know, when you place your car for car wash, you go and sit in the shelter. So I went and sat in the shelter. So when these vehicles stormed like that, you know, I was on the phone. I looked up, but I looked down. But a few seconds later, I saw all of them were coming towards us. I looked, I stood up. The gentleman that was in front, I think, I recognized him as a policeman. Is he from service headquarters? Is he a traffic police officer? Or am I mistaken? So I asked, colleagues, gentlemen, how are you? Are you following me? So he even greeted me, yes, Ambassador, good afternoon, Ambassador. I said, oh, are you here to pick me up? He said, yes, Ambassador. So I said, but look, you are, I think, 12 of you. Can I call first my lawyer that the police are here? In fact, I said, but why didn't you issue a call out? You know my numbers, you know my residence, why wouldn't you get in touch with me to come if you wanted me? Did you need to trail me? Because remember the 2 vehicles that I had identified. So no, you have to go with us. So I said, can I call my lawyer to alert him that police officers are here to pick me up? They refused. They said no. And they began to attempt to get my phone. So I said, no, gentlemen. I haven't seen your ID cards. Your vehicles are private. You are about 12 of you. I don't even know if you are policemen. At least I need to tell, at least even a family member, that the police have picked me up. And that's where now they became very brutal. So lucky enough, the number I dialed, it was my wife. I told her, I'm at a car wash in Woodlands. And before I could even finish, I told her that the police are here to pick me up. This young officer attacked me, turned my arm and twisted it. That's why I have injuries on my shoulder. My wrist is still twisted, and my wrist. And it became a tussle. I was insisting, colleagues, who's heading this unit? Can I speak to my lawyer? And they are members of the public here. You can't humiliate me in this fashion like I'm a dangerous criminal. They were trying to lift me, push me, and my cry was, can I speak to my lawyer? Because I don't know if you are truly policemen. And they were pushing me now from the shelter, taking me to this car. The car that they had stationed in front was a small Corolla. And now they were trying to push me into this Corolla. I'm a bit tall. And they were trying to shove me in the Corolla. And even the push to my neck, I even literally cried that you break my neck. Because there's no need for this force. I am not resisting. All I am asking is, can I call the lawyer? It was a scene. And by the time they shoved me into the vehicle, they even went into the crowd. There was a woman who was taking a video of the entire incident. Mm-hmm. There were crowds that were gathering at the area. They went into the crowd and grabbed the phones from members of the public that were filming, and they took me to the police. When we arrived at the police and one of their senior officers came, the first thing I reported was a brutal attack they had done on me. Mm. I said, you've abducted me. You are senior. He introduced himself as senior. First, they've injured. My neck is paining. I was in great pain over my neck. I didn't know that I'd lost a tooth. I didn't know that I'd lost a tooth. Me, I was happy. Yes, I did. Up to now, I haven't. There's a tooth here on the side that I lost.
Were you punched?
I can't remember, but they were just brutal, pushing me. And so I was in great pain over my left neck, and then my thumb was swollen, visibly swollen. All of it, this thumb, visibly swollen. And then there was great pain on my shoulder. I said, I don't know if my shoulder has been dislocated. Whatever you want, even before you call a lawyer, I think I might need to see a doctor.
Sorry, Ambassador. In the interest of time, that story looks a little bit strange.
Yeah.
Mr. Changala.
Yes.
Sorry, you educated me. In America, before you are approached, in America, Europe, they will say sorry. They will produce the ID.
Yes.
And say we are police officers. Mm-hmm. You are under arrest. Don't say anything. If you say anything,
to be used against
whatever you say will be used against you in the courts of law. Yeah. And they have these what do you call those?
Cameras.
Cameras.
Body cam.
Yeah, body cam.
Body cam.
Yeah.
There, everything is in camera. So now when he says he was arrested without being identified, how safe are the Zambians? Suppose it's criminals who are coming.
Yes, yes. This is our biggest worry. You see, when I heard this story, my first reaction was that this is state-sponsored terrorism. Mm. State-sponsored, to terrorize your own people. Because the police, when they went to pick him up, 1, he was alone. 2, he was unarmed. There were 12. What was wrong, first and foremost, identifying themselves and telling him of his rights, even if he knows them. They were supposed to remind him of his rights. We are here to arrest you. I'm inspector so, or constable so. Can you secure your car? Because you have to go with us. Mm. But the brutality is highly institutionalized, such that you can't see any difference between a common criminal and a state policeman. A criminal doesn't put on uniform. So is this private CIDs who have this audacity of arresting a citizen without first identifying themselves. That was wrong.
Don't you think police are ill-trained? Or even the Minister of Home Affairs. Sorry to say this, I want to understand certain things. You see, now the Commissioner of Police in charge of State House.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Siandenge.
Siandenge.
Fano Siandenge.
Yes.
Fano Siandenge and I come a long way. I remember when he said to me, Pastor Chiluba, look, these prolesers the police have got, you know they are Siandenge's vision? When he explained to me, I took him to police, Minister of Home Affairs, Karombo Mwansa, the late, may he so rest in peace. I took him to Shikapwasha, and I said, this gentleman, give him space. He's got a vision, work with people with a vision. And I also briefed President Chiluba to say, sir, this policing, you are saying, when you have people in the service who can lift the police service to go to another level, you should hold on to them. There are the police officers in Zambia enjoying progressors, speed, whatever. That is Siandenge's vision. Now, I am saying, what about the Minister of Home Affairs, the Inspector General, to say, guys, hold on, let's go professional. Don't arrest anybody without identifying yourself. Should that be also a police, the directive from the president? You see, my mind suffers. Because when you heap everything, even small matter on the president, when the inspector
He's the commander-in-chief. And what the police need many times is political will. I'll give you one example where he has succeeded. A word of command. Cadres are away from the market. A word of command. Cadres are away from the bus stops. He can do the same to the police, except this time around, he thinks that's a mark of power. That's authority. People must fear. But tomorrow, if he issues a statement that if I hear and there is a proven record that you tortured somebody, you brutalized somebody, you are on your own. I'm using his own language. You are on your own. This police will change.
Yeah, because Ambassador, I wanted to come to the issue that you have brought, cadreism.
Yes.
During the reign of PF, I even phoned my brother Kanganja, because for me I thought he's the one in charge. I said, Kanganja, these people have insulted me, and they almost bashed into my vehicle. You are raising monsters. These are dangerous criminals in the name of cadres.
Yeah.
Cadreism didn't sit very well.
No.
Now, the president has come, UPND, President Aka Chilema. Like you said, a word.
It's just a word.
We don't see the...
No, in fact, Pastor, we see tolerance. My injuries have been ridiculed. The director, spokesperson for government, Mr. Tabo Kawana, went on KBN TV and ridiculed me, doubted my explanation, called them lies. He might not trust me, but he should trust the doctor that assessed me, that made me do tests, including X-ray, and wrote on that report the injuries I suffered. At least he should trust a medical report. I didn't go to a private doctor. I avoided that because I knew this is a very big offense that has been committed against me. So I went to a government hospital. I have since filed in my report pictures of my loss of tooth and the injuries that I have suffered, including the bruises here when they were very brutal. You must have seen the bruises on my left shoulder. Yes. Yeah. I have filed an official report to Woodlands Police Station. I gave them my medical record signed by UTH. I've given them subsequent medical records signed by UTH over the loss of my tooth. It has been 2.5 weeks. The policemen have not been arrested. In fact, the police that brutalized me, one of them, to cover themselves, even reported me for assault. Me, the victim, who was helpless, all hands tied, held. I don't know at what stage you would assault a police officer when both your hands are tied and restrained, you know.
In fact, let me help you, Pastor, and our viewers. we are creating a cycle which will become political perception at some point. There are policemen who are brutalizing our colleagues. What will happen when there is regime change? These matters will be alive. When I'm speaking of a case of Mumbipiri and Chirekwa. These are people who could not be arrested under the Patriotic Front. But check, when the government changed, we had UPND in power. The case of that gentleman who was killed in Kaoma, what's his name?
Gaddafi would call himself.
A banda or whatever. Was energized. And this is what I don't like. The same policemen who could not arrest Mumbipiri and Chirekwa at that time, swing in action, arresting people on odd cases. And when you interview them, they say there was no political will. These gentlemen who are being brutalized today, the police will not move in. But when there is a regime change, that's when they will energize themselves and find time now to start arresting the people, which will look now like persecution. This is the same trend we have with the Anti-Corruption Commission. They do not investigate corruption in real time. They only want to investigate it when the regime change. That's when you see former cabinet ministers queuing up at Anti-Corruption Commission. You ask them, where were you when these matters or cases being committed? No, don't ask us, where have we filed? And they look very busy. They did it with the Kaunda, they did it with MWAMBA, they have done it with the Arabi.
Now they're doing it on President Edgar Lungu.
Now, under HH, they're investigating nobody. And there is no brutality against any UPND member. They are angels, they are saints. Wait a minute, time flies. These guys will be called deformer. And deformer is a crime in this country. And these people will cry once again. Persecution. They are targeting us because of where we come from. They have got that word they use. We didn't choose to be born where we were born. But you are laying your own bed. So sleep in it. If I was them, I would be very, very, very careful with what they are doing today. Because they are creating a reference point when they will be called former this, former that, former this. They will queue up somewhere one day. And they have created this behavior. And the policeman likes it when there is a regime change.
But, Mr. Changala, let me say this. You have followed my preaching. From the time I was on TV, I was the first person to be on TV preaching the gospel. You remember that, Mama?
Yes,
1989. I said certain things during our father's leadership. And people said what they said. I said things during Vachiruva. I said things, let me repeat what I said. You see, power, I don't know what it does to people. When you people go in power, you think you'll be there forever.
Forever.
This is the problem that I've seen, that from Dr. Kaunda, when he was tortured, incarcerated there, in Kalundu house. I went to see him. He was not feeling too well in his bedroom. He said, Pastor, come. I almost shed tears to see the former Super Ken locked up like that. I pleaded with my brother, President Chiluba, in my small way. You know, these are some of the things, Mr. Changala. If you don't break this cycle, as you are saying, what happened to Dr. Kaunda? Happened to President Chiluba? Happened to Rupia Banda? This thing is a danger. Right now, if I speak, somebody will say, you are PF. And
Doesn't matter.
For me, I don't care.
As long as you are a
because
citizen.
I was called UNIP, I was called MMD, I've been called names.
Yeah, true, true.
But what I'm saying is that these people, I have said it time and again here, why doesn't the DEC? I am not talking about UPND. I'm talking about PF.
Yes.
Why doesn't anti-corruption,
Yes.
DEC, arrest people? I issued these statements in PF. Why don't you arrest them? Why don't you investigate them?
Yes.
Nobody answered me. When PF was in power, DEC is everywhere, producing evidence. Now there is UPND. This same thing, I want you to know that as you preach the word of God, the Bible says, Ambassador MWAMBA, whatsoever a man sows, that is Galatians 6, he will reap.
He will reap.
So what you sow in word, in action, in everything, you people who are in political circles, take the gospel, the word of God as real. After all is said and done, alatukafua, if you fika shiala fiapa chalo, the word of God never lies. Now, when we don't clean up our country, I have seen the organizations, Mr. Changala, maybe this is for you.
Yes.
You see people saying, I'm NGO. There were a lot of NGOs in the PF.
Yeah, a lot.
There were a lot of people who would speak things and bring.
But they have disappeared.
I don't know whether they've changed the residences, but I know some of the names. I don't even see them there. Even in Chiluba government, during the third term, you remember?
Yes.
There were a lot of NGOs. People got money, they got cars. The only person, to my mind, who stood out without taking sides was Lucy Chone.
Yeah.
She spoke her mind out, whether you are this side. But I tend to think that some of these organizations, they speak for jobs. Once you are given a job,
Pastor, I can take from your cry when you gave an example of the Inspector General from UK. We have a constitution. The Inspector General of Police is established by our constitution, is a creature of the constitution. There is no need for him to follow political directives. We just have cowards that occupy these offices. The ACC Director General and the board chair are ratified by Parliament. They are creatures of the constitution. Why they can't investigate the current corruption? For me, it beats me. If even a US government report can cite that there is massive government corruption under President Hakainde Hichilema, not the past, what are they waiting for? They are creatures of the Constitution. Their appointment even has some security of tenure because it has gone through ratification of Parliament. So I recognize what my dear brother BREBNER Changala is saying, that the overload, the overbearing nature of the presidents who makes them these office law enforcement agencies and their bosses cow to his public pressure, to some extent is cowardice. These are constitutional mechanisms. Just a slight reference about talking about people that sometimes misconduct themselves. I was surprised that Laura Meaty ridiculed my injuries and ridiculed my arrest on her Facebook page, but she's a commissioner. And it's an institution I have rushed to, the Human Rights Commissioner.
She's a commissioner of what?
Under Human Rights Commission.
Oh.
Because other than filing my report for assault charges against the police officers that brutalized me, I've taken a report to the Police and Public Complaints Commission. I'm glad to report that they have since responded to me, acknowledging my letter and the report I filed, but I've not gotten a similar report from the Human Rights Commission. But I didn't expect a Human Rights Commissioner to ridicule my case where I'm raising abuse of my rights as a human being. So such misconduct, you need to see action. I expect someone to take action, the appointing authority to take action over Laura Meaty, because that's an institution I've gone to, and on her page she goes to ridicule me. But I bring back for me, even when I served in public service, I took my duties very seriously. I never allowed corruption, even if it came from ministers, even if it came from the top, I refused. I said, look, I have public service commitment, I have sworn to uphold these financial regulations, and I cannot do things that are not provided for. Officers can stand up and disobey unlawful orders. In a most polite way, you can just say, our minister, he contract fire. It won't be done. It will amount to corruption. Maybe participate, declare interest, and let the evaluation committee assess. So when I was permanent secretary, you know, because we're giving water projects, there were lucrative water projects in Isoka Nakonde, Chinsali, Chilubi, and Impulungu. These were big projects, and the award was being done under my office. I had a lot of pressure.
This was under MMD?
Under PF.
PF.
I was permanent secretary in Northern Province at the time. And that's not the only one I've said no to. So I'm still appealing to office bearers, like the Inspector General of Police, the Director General at the Anti-Corruption Commission. They can be professional. You can even resign if you think that your professional discharge of duties is being interfered with. It's not always that you should obey unlawful orders.
Mr. Changala.
Yes.
I want to bring in one individual in this nation. He has blessed my heart. I've seen him, my brother General Chiluba, retired, served under his authority. And this is one man who attempted to be a president of this country. And up to now, until in the future, I call him a president who never was. Brigadier General Mianda.
Oh, yes.
Do you know that Brigadier General Mianda never took in instructions when he was managing that MSB, whatever, opposite Central Police, engineering, whatever. He never took in any instruction from the president, from the MCC, members of the Central Committee. He stuck to professionalism.
Yeah, it can be done.
And you can see a man who was vice president demoted to be Minister of Education, and he serves faithfully. Such breed.
Yeah.
It's very rare.
You won't find it in Zambia.
No, it's a very rare breed. General Mianda is a president who was never to be. He was too honest, and he's still too honest, because his leadership is anchored and founded on Christian faith. We are having leadership today that is not truthful. That is not honest in many ways. I have been around under not much of Kenneth Kaunda, but under Mr. Chiluba. There is another man I found to be honest and straightforward, but he didn't finish his term. That was Lev Patrick Mwanawasa. He was a gentleman who respond to any correspondence, who listen even to nonsense. He's a man who was a bridge between power and the governed. He oscillated in between. But in recent times, we have leadership that is so full of themselves, and they don't consult. They know it all. The UPND administration, I personally supported them, and I thought they would make a difference. And in my private talks to the leadership was that you must beat Levi Patrick Mwanawasa's record. But I can tell you here and now, you write a letter to State House and see whether you get a response. Secondly, when you are in the opposition, you support a cause. You engage in yourself in what we call shared values and vision. So you need to participate in the manner that institution you supported, the way it's going to govern the country. There are a lot of people today who are not participating in the governance of this country, and yet they vested so much of their personal and public interest in this regime. It's easier for a foreigner to enter State House than it is for a Zambian. This I'm telling you with facts. It will take you 200 years to see the president, but it will take just a character flying in from London into State House. One wonders how this thing operates.
Have you been refused entry to State House?
I must say this, that when you find people are close to the system, become the strongest voice and critic, you must sit down and evaluate yourself. I will tell you something of interest to you. The whole of last year, Bishop Mpundu, Archbishop Mpundu, who is now very vocal today, gave me an assignment because he wanted to see the president. This is a man who was with the president in the opposition, and they were very close. And I tried for almost a year to secure an appointment for Bishop Mpundu to have a chat with the head of state. In November, the bishop called me and he said, "BREBNER, leave whatever you are doing. Do you know what I'm going to do? We shall speak to the president through the media and he will listen." I conveyed that message that the bishop is about to leave you in peace, but he will make you uncomfortable.
So you went to tell the president at State House, or you also phoned him? Or?
No, on the phone, including his support staff.
You didn't go to State House?
No. It must be known that I have not been to State House.
So now, sorry to ask this, I just want to find out, Ambassador. If President stops me from going to State House, or he stops you, is this...
No, it doesn't stop again there, it will be misleading. It's the attitude.
Or the attitude?
The attitude, no, they are clever. They will never tell you that's a public institution. They will never tell you don't come to State House. But they will give you that attitude that they are not available for you.
Yeah,
and it depends.
Is this where bitterness comes out from some people, not you?
No. Even me, you can refer to me.
No. I'm just saying that.
Don't shield me.
No. I'm just saying, when people are stopped from seeing president, is this where the bitterness comes from?
Because they feel isolated. Let me tell you, when you join a cause, they are shared values, and you think you have something to contribute. You cannot just go in the bush, kill an impala. A certain group start feeding while you are outside to say we'll come and talk to you once we finish eating.
Maybe you're looking for cooking oil and spices.
No.
There's a fundamental issue that Honorable BREBNER CHANGALA is raising, how presidents become inaccessible.
It's totally inaccessible.
And how they become monsters against their own citizens. And like he's saying, one of the failures of every president is exactly that. As soon as people come around the president, they make him inaccessible to truth. BREBNER CHANGALA is not looking for a job. He's worked with many presidents and he's criticized many presidents. But BREBNER likely will tell the president the truth. The candidates around the president will never tell the president the truth. They'll tell him, "You are doing well, Mr. President." If MWAMBA is criticizing you, Mr. President, MWAMBA lost his job, is just bitter.
But how many times, Ambassador, have I said, "Umusungu tapa tabantu"? But
this assertion...
Sometimes, I'm just saying, because you remember how close I was to President Sugar. You remember how close I was to President Sata. And the President Kaunda. But there were moments when one of them, of those I've mentioned, he has called me, "Come to State House." I go there.
That's my argument.
So...
when I hear and I read to say that president is good, it's the people surrounding him, I refuse.
Yeah.
Because when we developed that...
You refuse?
Yes, I refuse. Because when we developed that relationship before he became a president...
There were people.
Those people were there. And the man on his own will call you.
Yeah.
What is stopping him to say, it's almost 5-7 months I've never seen that character. Let me just ask him, we have a cup of tea, or we chat. So, many times we blame the people around there. He actually, many times, blame the principal.
Yeah.
Because he's supposed to energize them to say, I have not seen that guy. You know, when I was with him in the opposition, he had these ideas. For example, me, I can't hide you. My support for UPND was to have the Office of the Public Protector operationalized.
Yeah.
The access to information bill to be enacted into law. The third one, and very crucial, that all parastatal boards must be ratified and reported to Parliament, not to the line minister. These are well known facts. None of them is working for me. The access to information, I can't see it. The public protector, the institution I admire, love so much, it's in a limbo. Boards, they are being appointed every afternoon and they are answerable to the minister. And these are boards where the minister appoints the board, the president appoints the CEO.
Confusion.
Total confusion. So, these boards from 1964 have never functioned. But you must have a board well appointed by the minister, go to Parliament for ratification, they remove cadres and bring in professionals, depending on which board. And then these boards must appoint a CEO. A CEO, they must manage themselves. Not the board is coming from elsewhere, a CEO is coming from elsewhere. And then the CEO knows very well the board can't fire me. And then the board is also failing to perform because every resolution they make first they must consult a political leader, a minister.
Are those verified reports you are bringing that somebody is appointed from this side, the body this side?
Oh yes, those I am a Zambian.
No, he's speaking facts. You know the operation of IDC. IDC is chaired by the president. You can cite the CEOs that have been appointed from ZESCO. You know, you can pick and choose. He's not telling lies. He's telling the truth. And this is what we are talking about. That this country,
who was appointing CEOs?
Yeah.
In the PF, who was appointed?
This country will have a cycle.
We came on the backbone of change. If PF was messing up, this is the time to correct the mess.
Okay.
Yes, we all shouted, Barry will fix it. Yes, let him fix it. He must not say PF did it, I'm also going to do it. No.
So your argument is that the reason why people voted out PF is because of the mistakes that were made.
Yes.
And they are being perpetuated
today. Because actually they were admiring PF, what PF was doing. That's why we can't see change. They admired the chaos the PF put us through. They are continuing because the first day we appointed, or rather elected President Hakainde Hichilema, the new dawn, we should have seen radical changes in the manner we are governed.
Let me play this clip by this Chipata man. I felt so sorry.
Yeah.
And this, I am directing it to the Inspector General of Police. I'm directing it to Honorable Jackie Mwembu, who is the Minister of Home Affairs, because you can take action against such inhuman treatment. Whether it's PF, UPND, MMD, whatever, a wrong is a wrong. And you must admit people. I was so touched when I saw this clip. Mr. Director, give me the clip of that.
Mr. Rizwan Patel from Petauke district.
From Petauke. Okay, this is another one that has been played where military personnel get involved in beating up a national. You see, for me, as a pastor, it doesn't sit well. This is why, even during the PF, those people who were tortured, when I spoke, some people thought I am this party and this party. But I speak as a pastor, you know. This is why, by the way, Mr. Changala, this is what made Dr. Kaunda call me to State House. May his soul rest in peace. I stood against certain things that were being done. And in 1989, Ambassador MWAMBA, you realize that it was very difficult to speak against UNIP.
Oh, yes.
1989.
Yes. It was extremely difficult.
MMD was not even formed, you know. And when you see such inhuman treatment and somebody is putting on the uniform, where is the commander of the National Service? Where is the commander of the army? These are the things I'm saying. You know, with all fairness, we need to be professional. Yeah.
There was a similar incident, you remember, where a youth made a TikTok video and issued what would be deemed insults against the head of state. Then you saw, that was in, I think, Mansa Ochieng, then you saw military pick that boy and brutalize the boy. And the boys, they were boys, and there was a video to that effect. Luckily, we all rose up in arms. The first reaction by Minister of Defense, by the defense, was to defend the abuse by the police of those two citizens, because they alleged that the kids had insulted the commander-in-chief. When there was now citizen uproar, BREBNER spoke, I spoke, other people spoke. Then we saw the Minister of Defense saying that that was unacceptable and that the kids...
When was this?
That was last year. This is a fresh clip. The one you showed is a fresh clip. But that was in 2022, and the matter, the Minister of Defense had to direct that the officers involved, the military officers involved in that they will be brought to book. We don't know how far that case has gone. I wish that we could hear a report that they were finally dismissed for the brutal assault of those kids, those youths. They are not allowed to brutalize citizens, and it was good that the Minister of Defense finally came. Here is a fresh video you have brought. The harrowing testimony of Rizwan Patel, where he was brutalized, picked from...
I want to play that one for the purpose of clarity, because for me, I feel, you see, two things, Mr. Changala. A police officer should have a human soul, a human heart. A police officer should be professional. A police officer should know that this person I'm dealing with has got a family. He has got... There are some people, you can beat them and they die. Just one punch, they die. And what will you have achieved? In my view, police officers are supposed to be protecting the citizens. That's the job of a police officer. But if you are sent and then you begin doing this, I still feel, this is me, Mr. Changala, Ambassador, I still feel a statement from the Inspector General of Police is in order. a statement from the minister is in order. Of course, even from the president, to say enough is enough. I don't want this. When these three people, the Inspector General of Police, the minister, and our president says, I don't want this, it will be enough.
No, there have been three statements. One from Mr. Tabo Kawana, he ridiculed my injuries. The Inspector General of Police justified the police brutality, and he said the police are allowed to use minimum force. The Minister of Home Affairs was in Parliament, and his statement was even worse. He defended, before even any investigations, he defended the role of the police. He said they acted professionally in the case of Ambassador Emmanuel MWAMBA and others. I was very sad that the minister on the platform of Parliament even saying that Ambassador MWAMBA has not been conducting himself as a former ambassador. The Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security, Honorable Jack Mwimbu, issued a ministerial statement on Friday. And in subsequent, Honorable Ronald Stotela said, was there a reason for the police to use force on Ambassador Emmanuel MWAMBA? He's a distinguished person in this country, has served us with distinction in South Africa and at the African Union in Ethiopia. Was there need for the police to treat him? The minister said Ambassador MWAMBA has not been conducting himself as a former ambassador. The minister on the face of Parliament issues defamatory statement. In fact, many stakeholders have lauded me as one who conducts modern politics, issue-based politics. I don't insult, I don't ridicule people, I go for the issues and the policies. The minister was on the floor saying that I'm not misconducting myself. I expected the minister to say, we'll investigate the allegations of Ambassador MWAMBA. We will arrest the police officers that assaulted him, according to the medical report that he has submitted. He should have not defended the police who have brutalized citizens and who brutalized all of us.
Okay, let me just play the clip still. I dedicate this to police officers because today they are in the service, tomorrow they will be out.
True.
And they should learn to treat these people honorably. I was looking at the picture the other day when President HH, he landed in Chipata at the airport. He was going for campaign. You remember that?
And they couldn't allow him to.
And the police officer stopped him from going to campaign. Here on this platform, I was with my wife. Mr. Changala, I said, this police officer, suppose HH wins, how can you justify that action? And in Bemba, we have a saying, Sulembwa, umuntu munove, dama musula. You see, right now, nobody can even think that Honorable MWAMBA will be president of this country. In as far as the issues are going, you are just a nobody. Even Mr. Changala there can be a president. There is no designation that has been given by God to say, I am an Yakatenka Zambia Mpakankabwele. We don't know who will be the next president. So when you stop President H going through the gate there and he stands like, such things. Those are the ones I'm saying, Mr. Changala. We should be civil, especially police officers, and corruption, but drug enforcement. They love us so excited, picking up this one, picking up. Let me play this. I want your comments, then the phone lines will be open.
Okay.
I requested, please, let me call my family member or my party officials to notify them that this is I'm on this journey. I was denied access. No, you will get it, you get it. At beginning, up to Luangwa, they were a bit friendly. From there, the tone changed. When I came here, first night, I was put in, second night, interrogation, and in the afternoon, they literally took me to C5 room at Central Police, beat me up like a criminal, put a shaft in between my legs, tied my hands with a seat belt. They beat me in such a way that right now my vision is blurring in and out. And they said, Katsuza Vomera, she's a Siranika Dionko Chabe. This is just a start. And for sure, they lived up to their words. At night, from there, they took me to Lilai police station, Lilai at division headquarters, Delta. I was there in the middle of the night. They came to pick me up with C5 officers. And then they took me in a bush. They covered my head with a hood. They put a gun to my head and told me that if you are not going to admit here, you are going to remain. No one will know you. Why are you still following this party? What is in for you? What are they doing for you? Can you admit? And now you find that they even fired a shot over my head. I was just praying there that God, you are there for me. I'm standing for the truth. I've not done anything wrong. What did I do wrong here that I'm being blamed for? Why is it that justice has to be double standard? Why is it that when a UPND member posts this on Facebook, which is a public media, he's never brought here. He was never tortured. He was never picked up from Petauke like no ordinary criminal. And why is it that we have to be victimized just because we wear this? This is our belief. This is our party. We are from Eastern. We are proud of our party. Why is it that justice has to be two-standard? This is not right. Your Excellency, you promised rule of law. Tell your officers to practice the rule of law, or we will assume that you are the one instructing them to victimize us.
That's right.
Thank you.
You see this, Mr. Changala, when I saw this, it's not about the party. I'm looking at that human being. When police officers cannot respect the citizens, there is a problem.
Yeah, a huge one.
Even if I would not advocate that the police officers, once they find a UPND cadre, they should treat him like that to show that they are working. I'm against that. So this kind of acts, I still bring it back to the IG. He can say a word.
This is state-sponsored terrorism. Is to scare the citizenry so that the people stop talking and they govern in the manner they feel like. But democracy doesn't work like that. In fact, you govern properly when you are put in check because you constantly evaluate what you are doing. But if you are going to constantly using state machinery, especially the police, armed police, to go and attack an armed individual, what crime did he commit, that gentleman, that can allow the state police to torture him and shift him from one police station to the other, just for the sake of psychologically debasing his morale and his humanity? It's totally unacceptable. On this one, the president is alone. On this one, I'm using his own words. He's on his own. It's high time he came down and spoke to the entire police system to say, let's respect the people who gave us the power and never use the guns and bullets that are bought through the taxpayer and turn them against their own people. No. We know the police is there to maintain law and order, but that is police turning themselves into the law unto themselves. And they have the commander-in-chief. He has never issued a statement. He's not interested because it's happening to the other group of people that he doesn't like, the members of the Patriotic Front. But how life is, what goes round comes round. And they will remember that they created a platform on which one day they will test the dose of their own medicine.
Ambassador, are you happy that at least also under this administration, the president says there will be no media house closed and the freedom of speech is there? Are you happy?
No, not at all. Chilufatali was in Chingola. Cadres came and evicted him from a radio station. threatened to burn the radio station. They were on video. They even issued in celebration after chasing Chilufya Tayali a video. They are identified. They've never been arrested. Similarly, in Mufulira, same issue. In Petauke, there was a journalist that was beaten because he was conducting a live program, and UPND cadres were not happy. They went and brutalized the journalist. He identified, reported to the police. They've never been arrested. So while the UPND will remember when the president was chased from Sun FM and he had to use a roof, they will not remember President Takainde Hichilema. He will remember that when he was in opposition, he had to use, when he was on Sun FM, there was threats of PF cadres threatening to come and evict him, and he had to use a roof to escape. He will not remember these crimes that are being done under his office. I was on radio station, Lusaka Modern Radio. Mr. Tabokawana stormed the radio station. That is not allowed under IBA regulations. There are these repeated mistakes. The mistakes of the PF cannot be standards for the UPND. They remain mistakes. The corruption of the PF cannot justify the corruption of the UPND. It remains corruption. So if we see large-scale acts of corruption at Ministry of Health, Ministry of Agriculture, and they remain unattended to, we see terror deployed against the office of the Auditor General that is supposed to conduct public audits. And because they are asking uncomfortable questions to these angels are being told there is corruption at Ministry of Agriculture, there is corruption at Ministry of Health. They say, no, these are PF cadres, and you manufacture criminal matters against them and mistreat them and hound them out of the office.
Which is very sad. That's again abuse.
Yeah.
You know, the way they have handled in fact, I'm happy you have brought this one. The way they have handled the office of the Auditor General, a constitutional office, is total abuse of power. The Auditor General was one time Accountant General. So there is this issue of allowances, which they have lumped on 18 individuals that they got illegal allowances. Myself and Archbishop Mpundu, we took the matter to Anti-Corruption Commission, and we raised it with the Director General. And we were told these people are not 18. There are 3,500 people who collected the same allowances. Yeah. But why they had to arrest Dix Chembe, the Auditor General, was because they are looking for an office that he holds, so that they can give it to the person
who they want
and who they can manipulate. That's all. To today, 4 months down the line, this is abuse of human rights.
So Dix Chembe is not there?
He's no longer there. He's on leave. And they have never taken him to court. You arrest somebody, take him to court, so that he can say his side of the story. But because many people involved in those illegal allowances, they are their own cronies.
There were 3,000.
There are 3,500. Pastor, with your journalists, go to the Anti-Corruption Commission and ask them, the whole entire system, only 18 people got allowances? The answer is no. Why have you only arrested 18? And what they have done, they have cannibalized the office of the Auditor General. They have removed everybody.
Mr. Director, please open the lines. I'm not seeing the lines scrolling there. Let the people go.
Yes. They have cannibalized that office because they want to dilute the audits that are coming out, especially for 2022, and have a favorable audit report. That is a crime against the people of Zambia.
Where are you supposed to direct that complaint?
It's
which office, which minister, ambassador? Where?
So the president swore to defend the constitution. The person to defend constitution office holders is the president. He's the one that said he would uphold the constitution, but he's the one quick to flagrantly abuse the Constitution and Constitutional office holders. As stated by BREBNER CHANGALA, and the way I raised the matter against the Office of the Auditor General is that they were asking uncomfortable questions. They were auditing things that State House was involved and certain ministers are involved. The President must rise to protect the Office of the Auditor General, not scandalize the office, not cannibalize it, not removing it. That process has not been fair. There are many people that got allowances, including senior officers that are still holding positions at Ministry of Finance, for example. And they've never been attended to. So the UPND government and the New Dawn government, I don't know if you're about to take a call. You can.
Yes, I want to take a call, though I asked about, aren't you glad there is freedom of expression and that the media is free to report on anything?
No, not at all.
Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening, Pastor Silva.
Permanently blessed. What's your name and where are you calling us from, sir?
My name is MWAMBA Mutale, calling you from Chilanga.
MWAMBA Mutale.
Yes, yes.
Please go ahead and speak to the nation. Your line is so clear.
Good evening, Ambassador Emmanuel MWAMBA.
Good evening, my brother. Good evening.
Good evening, Sabana Bachangara.
Good evening, my colleague. How are you?
We are not fine. We are not fine. Looking at the expressions and the issues happening in Zambia, it's like we are not in Zambia. Pastor Chiluba, this program, it's not that I'm trying to command you. Please, make it that it should be coming frequently so that Zambians are able to see what is happening.
It should be coming what?
It should be coming frequently. What I mean is, Pantu, effort was Zambi, Ramopati, Zambians are suffering, not because of high cost of living. They are suffering in a lot of ways. When you look at the Ambassador Emmanuel MWAMBA, this man, I love him naturally because he's a person who he's a person who likes talking about things, the real issues which are happening, not necessarily insulting or doing or using bad language. So, Ambassador Emmanuel MWAMBA, continue speaking for the voiceless. God will always reward you, and we really appreciate because you are a humble man. And even when Pastor Silva said, you never know that you can be president tomorrow. It's because he's looking at how you are coming out. Baraba Changara, you are a leader, and that is what you want. Political activists, you need to not to side on one political party. Of course, you have said you have supported UPND, but now you are speaking as the real Zambian who has suffered for this country. This is what we want. Coming to the real issue, Zambia is not as Zambia as it is. And these people, the problem why they are facing these challenges is because they are praising themselves on bad things. They have never done good things. So God cannot reward them to say they can do good things. So I don't want to waste much of the time because other callers are supposed to call.
Before you
Pastor Chiluba, continue holding this type of programs because this is the only way God is using you.
Not the only way. The only way is preaching in Naimaba Mutale Allah. This is by the way. Now, Vamutale, are you PF?
Pastor Chiluba, I'm a Zambian. I'm not going to say I'm PF or I'm UPND or I'm UNIT. I'm a Zambian. But we should not allow this type of life on most of the Zambians. Like this guy from Eastern Province, when he's putting on PF attire, that's when they will brutally, that should not happen in our country. And God is there to reward all those who are suffering now.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
I hear you. That is Mr. Mwamba Mutale from Chilanga. He's for you. He says you speak on issues. Yeah.
True. And coming back to constitution officers, I have endeavored to report acts of corruption to the anti-corruption. I think I've reported 4 major cases. For me, I believe that these institutions are enacted by the Constitution and they should act on this. They don't have to wait for the UPND to end their tenure. The judges are being fired like gardeners. The security of tenure is being disrespected. A sham hearing, a judge is fired.
Are judges fired?
Oh yeah, 4 judges so far have been fired. Sunday Nkonde, Judge Joshua Banda, the DPP, she holds a position, Lillian Siuni. In the past, you needed a tribunal, a public tribunal, to fire a judge. This time, a sham hearing and judges are being removed. I complained against 2 senior judges, the Chief Justice, you remember my case, the Chief Justice and a Supreme Court judge, because I felt that they couldn't have handled the case they had handled previously. They should have declared interest and allow other judges to administer that. But that, in my view, was misconduct by the Chief Justice and the senior Supreme Court judge. I took the matter to the Judicial Complaints Commission, and my matter was not heard. They just said, no, you have no locus stand on this matter. But the matters I raised were very grave. For me, I believe that institutions, oversight institutions we've created for ourselves, like even the police, they should act. They should not abuse their powers. They should not be compliant. They should not be doing things to please the president or their appointing authorities. But this is what we are seeing. They are brutal on the opposition. On a matter like the matter I raised for the Chief Justice, they just put it on the carpet and they don't want to hear such matters. So institutions of democracy are letting down our democracy. Individuals occupying those offices are not rising up as determined by our Constitution. He's been raising a fundamental issue of the issue of the public protector. That's the only institution that can summon the president. You know, the president, under our circumstances, can't be investigated. But if you provide for the office of the public protector, if there is corruption in State House, only the public protector can walk to that office and demand a statement from the president.
But why didn't the PF establish that office?
That's why he made it a rallying call, because he wants everyone accountable, including as a president. He has just told you that he participated in these elections, made HH as a partner to his cause, and there are many Zambians that wanted a better Zambia after the elections, and they partnered with him like he did. So after elections, you don't expect repeated mistakes that were made by the PF. The mistakes of the PF cannot be a standard for the UPND in the manner that they want him to be a standard.
But Mr. Changala,
Yes.
who should decide to say, let's have a public protector? And before you answer that question, Ambassador Mwamba brings a situation which I had forgotten now. I'm reminded. President Levi Mwanawasa, may his soul rest in peace. I think one judge misbehaved and he appointed a tribunal and he called the judge from Malawi.
No, that was
President Sata.
Sata.
That was President Sata.
Judge Chikopa. Is it Judge?
Yeah, but there was a tribunal under Mwanawasa and
there was
tribunal,
also a tribunal with
under Rupia Banda and under
Let's speak up this call with, hello?
Hello.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Dr. Good evening, everyone there.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
What's your name and where are you calling us from?
I'm Silas Sekelani, calling from Ghana.
Silas Sekelani.
Yes.
Please go ahead and speak to the nation.
What we have found out in this nation is we like things that we don't love. If you look all our leaders, they are good in study, but their aim is not good because of nothing to consult to other people who are under other communities. Let's say the way we are saying in that day, Shigolia, youth councillors, they don't take full information to the minister. So you find that at the end of the day, we are blaming one another to say that one is bad, that one is like that. But the fact is, we should bring our minds together so that we can fight all these things that we are seeing today. Because recently, last month, I went at China police. A police was very drunk and started shouting us while we took someone who was a complainant. Then they started saying, no, something like that, started shouting us. So I said, okay, so there are other police who have the heart to save people. Then there are other people, other police who are just there to get their salary, and at the end of the day, they are gone. They are not there for a job, a passion heart to save their duty. So if we impose such people, we are destroying the nation because they don't have a heart for a nation. Because each and every person, he has a duty as a police. When you see someone doing bad, we are there to collect. So if we complain about the state house to say, no, maybe we are not going there, they cannot allow us to enter, the same as a case. I myself am a upcoming pastor, I can say so. There are people who you start with them. At the end, you find that those people, sometimes they don't have a study, others they will be near you. So those who will be near you, if you are not much careful, they will give you a bad advice, others they will give you a good advice. So it takes about himself as a leader to select their, what can I say, maganizo yao, akamba bazona, or akamba bako. It's supporting to my leadership, but now we know.
Okay, Vasekelani, we've gotten your advice. What's your point?
Yes.
What is your point?
My point.
Yes, sir.
Is standing on my leaders can gain state house or can ministers. Si vamayivala pasi vintu vamene vamakamba vetu
vanapitamo
lero tiri na vantu vezokwera ku TV direct vezovaona vezokamba, when we come into power we will do this, but later on vazazizaziakusape vaivalako. But what we are saying is, what they say,
okay, thank you so much, my brother. Mr. Changala,
yes.
Following what my brother Sekelani has said, I want to make one observation, which I've seen from the time of MMD. I can't say UNIP, but MMD. MMD, PF, and now UPND. You see, some of these police officers, as my brother said, because not every police officer is useless, some are useful, so don't you think, because of from MMD, PF, and UPND, there is this trend of employing cadres? You offload the party cadres into police, into national service, into the army, into what, and when they remain in the system, they will handle you depending on which platform they came from. Because this is a fact. Even now, you find Ambassador MWAMBA, these people, when they advertise jobs in the security wings, army, air force, what, that is just stage managing things, because you find that the officers have employed theirs, the party has employed, and these are the results. Don't you think this is a problem?
Yeah, the challenge we face is leadership. The cadres don't just drop from somewhere. We have a dishonest leadership that comes, I think, from MMD, the PF, and the UPND. If only they were honest enough and they wanted to have a decent civil service, a decent security wings, decent police establishment, they can get it by having proper assessment and a good training manual. What we have at the moment is the head of state can do what he wants to do. There is no professionalism. Don't even escape. Here, I know you want to be decent by going around blaming other people. Blame the leadership. I will just give you one example and reflect it on it, your pastor. We had the former IG, Remy Kajoba, had left the system. Under the Patriotic Front, I suppose?
Yes, in 2013, 2014.
Yeah, he was brought back
By UPND.
by UPND. You mean the system hasn't produced any professional? We have the current IG. When did he retire?
In 2010.
2010. He has been exhumed from some grave to come and lead the living.
Yeah.
To come and lead the living. You must face facts.
The choice.
That's
I'm laughing at the choice of words.
yeah, because
Exhumed.
you want to go around in circles and you know the problem.
Yeah.
Face the reality, it will not harm you. At State House, we have the Commissioner of Police, Siandenge. They don't even have the courtesy and decency to tell you Siandenge was a fugitive.
Yeah.
He was on the run. There was a bound of 100,000 kwacha on his head. I have never been told when it was lifted, who lifted it.
The criminal case was dropped.
Yes, how the criminal case was dropped. Today is the commissioner at State House, at the seat of power. And now you are going round in circles discussing these peripherals. And that is the command we have. That command gives instructions to a constable, a sergeant, and the other police authorities. Now, these are people who at one time, the same police establishment put a bounty on them. And when PF lost, HH became president, he ignored the establishment he found. He went to look for a man who was on the run to come and give command to those on attention, to those on parade. Because the thing they would have done when he was appointed is arrest him and let the process take its course.
Maybe there was no case established.
No, but who cleared him? The police itself put a bound on him. The best they could have done is when he was being appointed, is to tell the nation, I am appointing our colleague who was on the run for so long. because we have done this check and the clearance is here. We are the employers. They didn't employ us. We employed them. So there must be the courtesy to tell us how people who were on the run are now running the police.
Honorable BREBNER Changala raises a fundamental issue. In opposition, President Hakainde Hichilema promised that he will professionalize civil service and public service.
And there will be a rule of law.
And of the establishment of the rule of law. He accused his predecessor of not adhering to the rule of law, and he says entities and democratic institutions will thrive under professionalism. And like BREBNER Changala has given an example. For example, Joseph Sakafumba would not have been appointed as permanent secretary. Joseph Sakafumba was a party president, vice president of NDC under Dr. Chimbakambwili. Tabo Kawana was spokesperson for the alliance. Tabo Kawana could not be employed as director in the civil service. No. The civil service is a sacred institution. Even under PF, at least the civil service was spared from those that held active party positions. My dear brother, I think Patrick Mcheleka, was Deputy Secretary General of the UPND. He was holding an active party position, but he was appointed as permanent secretary. Then there are these that, like he's stating, that were exhumed from the graveside and are now running the living like he has stated.
Doesn't the president have prerogative to appoint?
Of course, the president has wide
in the best interest of the country.
In the best interest. You have to balance these interests. For example, the civil service must be left sacred. If, for example, he wanted to appoint Joseph Sakafumba, he could have appointed him maybe as ambassador or any other non-political, a political position, not in the civil service as a permanent secretary, not in the...
Save yourself, ambassador, and renew your mind. Are you saying that in PF you never appointed political people to PS?
No, not to my knowledge.
You can't remember one?
You cannot appoint someone who's holding a party active position into the civil service. No, it's never done. It's never done. Even under RB, under Michael Sata, it's never done. I never held any party position. I was never the district chair. I was never the secretary. I was never. You have to allow the sacredness of the institution to be professional.
Let's pick up if there are some text messages. We see. Good evening. I'm following the program. Whenever the police arrest politicians, does the president know about it? Gerard Emersdale, please. What's your comment? Does the president know?
Yes, that the president will give the answer, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. He's coming from the opposition where he was being arrested. And the ultimate goal was always Edgar Lungu. He didn't care who arrested.
He was saying that?
Oh yes, he's on record. He said Edgar Lungu. Now he's the president. What we are being told, he knows nothing about who's being arrested. What has changed? What has changed? You see, we are not going to run this country through blame games. Let's face the reality.
Let's pick up this call. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Pastor Chiro.
What's your name and where are you calling us from, sir?
You are speaking to Siame, calling within Lusaka.
Mr. Siame from Lusaka, please talk to the nation.
Thank you so much. Ambassador MWAMBA, good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Siame.
Honorable BREBNER Changala, you deserve to be called Honorable. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, my brother. Good evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Honorable MWAMBA, I witnessed the bruises you had, which police infringed in you, which is not supposed to be the way it's supposed to be. Being someone who is the ambassador, you saved this country diligently from MMD time as well as in Patriotic Front time. You deserve respect from these people, but they did not deserve
deserve that respect you have. Having known you for a long time, I think you are one individual who has never been implicated in any scandal in this country. But to see police handle you in such a manner, it is very shameful. And what I think we should be doing as a country, especially from Mr. BREBNER CHANGALA, can we start advocating for the reforms to ensure that we change certain clauses in the Constitution? Because when giving someone too much power, these are the results we are getting from as a citizen. Because you cannot have the way you are alluded to, where a minister is appointing a board in the institution, another one appoints the top leader there on top. Where is the allegiance of these people? Are they going to respect the decision of the board? Because someone is coming from the president. You say you were appointed by minister, I was appointed by the president.
That's the thing.
Yes, this is why we are seeing that things are not moving well, especially in these parastatal companies, because of the same. The people who have been appointed by the president will come with their own policies. Those who have been appointed by the minister, they also come with their own policies. At the end of the day, they start contradicting themselves. And this is why we are seeing that in number of institutions, there is no coordination because of the same. Today we hear this one coming up with a statement, another one tomorrow wake up with talking about something else, and the country now is confused in such a manner. So continue pushing and ensure that you speak for the Zambian people. We cannot have a country where we are coming from harvesting a bag of roller milk can cost us 200 kwacha, where on earth? In a country where everything is done all local. We need policies that is going to favor all the Zambian people. Not today you wake up to say, no, I want to excite farmers. You kill the larger majority of people in this country. That's not the way you run a country.
Now,
when you put in policies should be across board, where everyone enjoys the fruits of being the country.
Now, Mr.
Thank you so much for putting me this opportunity.
Mr. Siame, before you hang, you have moved from human rights to the bag of meal. Is that part of human rights?
Yes, it is. Fundamental human rights.
Meal is an essential commodity which is a right. One has the right to food, and that food must be readily available. And we are supposed to provide that food. It is government itself. And myself, I have to wait for it. But where I'm going to buy that meal, I should find it affordable for Vanakurukwakaputa to afford that meal. That's how it's supposed to be. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You've heard this contribution.
Yeah. I can quickly just give an example that has come to mind regarding, when I was locked up at Emmanuel Police, I found 4 people that have been locked up for 6 months. No. Now, at a police station...
Right there?
Yes, at Emmanuel Police Station. At the police station, you shouldn't be there beyond a week or so. They've been in police cells for 6 months, since February. And they've been, they were being investigated for a case of aggravated robbery. And no details have been brought. Now, if you go to prison, remand prison, you have people that sometimes go up to 2 years, 3 years without appearing in court. You remember that we had to raise political pressure for Honorable Mumbipiri to finally find a day in court. And it took 8 months before she could make an appearance in court. So those are grave human rights that, must be repeatedly spoken to. The overcrowdedness of prisons.
And the facilities... And they got acknowledged prosecuted by the Honorable Judge.
Yeah, and she spent 429 days in prison for a case that should not have been there in the first place, save for the politics. Because there's no way 2 people would hold a pistol and, and commit a murder. Just that, she was not even at the scene of crime. These facts were known to investigators, but because they wanted to exert political punishment on Mumbipiri, they made her go through 429 days. And on the day she's supposed to be acquitted, they enter a nolle process.
That's abuse.
On the same day.
Yeah.
On the same day, and that's banditry. Criminal.
Yeah.
Abusing the law.
Yeah.
Abusing, and I don't forgive them for that.
Is it the government or the judge? Because it's
It's not the judge who gives the knowledge.
The judge was ready to deliver his judgment.
I see.
Yes.
And the state, who knew from the beginning that they shouldn't have arrested Mumbipiri?
So it's the state that
They entered the nolle
They entered the knowledge
to prevent the judge from
to read the
delivering.
judgment.
Yeah.
And that's why, if you have seen, Bishop Ompundu has been calling for that unread judgment to be read.
Yeah.
Nolle aside, that judgment must be read.
Because it was ready. The judge had come to deliver the judgment.
And then it was arrested. The judgment was arrested.
Yeah.
Through a nolle. Total abuse.
That was more than a year.
Yeah, 429 days. 1 year, I think that's 3 months that she spent in prison.
You don't abuse people, even if you hate them. You don't use the law
to punish.
to punish somebody. You use state institutions to punish, and you interfere with them. That was banditry, criminal, and is unacceptable.
I can say on this program that the same has been done to me. It's not that I want to defend myself. Of course, I'll have a day in my court. I never published those documents. You know, I publish documents on my page. Forgery, an ambassador of my standing. I've been in public service for 25 years. Today, I should come and sit and forge. The charges have been brought to scandalize my name, to try to destroy me. They have brought these fictitious charges. They know it in their heart that I didn't forge any document. They know in their heart that I didn't publish any documents. But they've brought these charges against me to bring scandal to me. When citizens look at me, they look at Emmanuel MWAMBA as a forger. They're not looking at my distinguished service as a permanent secretary.
And in your diplomatic circles, they will hold you as a person who attempted to forge something.
You know, before I came here, when they heard, when people
Have
heard...
they taken you to court?
No, they haven't, of course.
Yes.
They haven't.
The day they will take you, they steal off the weapon.
Yeah.
The knowledge.
Yeah. It's just to scandalize people. When when my colleagues at the African Union and others heard that I had been recorded, that I was coming to Zambia, I was offered jobs. I was offered the regional position in South Africa. I was offered a job in New York. I was offered a job even at the African Union. People were saying, you apply. But I said, no. For me, even President Edgar Lungu, I told him that I want to come back home and participate in politics. So I have a distinguished name, and I cannot reduce it for purposes of politics. It's a name you build over the years. But the evil schemes are out there to destroy us, like they did to Mumbipiri and others. So
let's pick up the text messages, Ambassador. I sympathize with you. Let's see if good evening, Pastor Chiluba and the panel. My concern is on the generation that we are raising now. We are setting a very bad precedent to our children. UPND promised to rule this country on the rule of law. But what are we seeing now? It's like they are overwhelmed with power. This is Raphael Mwanza.
Yeah, it's true.
There's another one. Good evening, Pastor Chiluba. This is a commendable program. One, discussants are very objective, and their suggestions, recommendations can be helpful if applied by government. Two, the general gross excitement and brutality of police needs moderation. This is Paul Mwale. Response to the two. Okay, you respond to the third one. Pastor Chiluba, I think the idea of rewarding people with jobs who committed crime in the past is worsening situation in the police and the general civil service. Kalava, Christopher, your response to the three.
Yeah, these observations are correct. Many times I went to an old school. I would rather say we are under siege. Under siege, that we don't have the communication and contact with the people who are governing us now. There is a lot of arrogance, because we have all noticed that UPND came to power on the premise of change, massive change, the restoration of the rule of law. What we are seeing has no semblance to change. We have a police hierarchy. Let's go back to the police, which has got men and women in uniform, well trained. Why should the police, or rather the president, go to the archives and get the new IG? Knowing very well that international police tactics have changed. That man never knew in his lifetime that he will get back to the same seat that he was on many years ago.
Later.
Yes.
How many years?
13 years later.
Yes. Who does that? If you really mean reform, do structural reforms in the law enforcement. If you want to change the way we are governed, such that even when they leave, another person will come and govern this country without the hassles that the UPND and the president went through. We need a law that makes it easy for anybody to aspire into that office. But most importantly, we need the laws that will enable the citizenry to put a check on the head of state. At the moment, I can tell you without hesitation, a president in this country, in the current form, he is actually a loose cannon. He can do what he wants. He's a semi-god. And if you want to put under check, he will injure you. It shouldn't be like that. This is a man who came to kneel for a vote, and he collects the vote, then he turns around that you can't control me. Who does that? So we need laws that will enable us govern ourselves in harmony with a fair approach to the way we run our politics. I pity our colleagues in the Patriotic Front. They haven't had it easy since they lost power. They haven't had it easy. Every afternoon, Tabogawana is on TV, they are deregistering the political party. Deregistering. They don't have 10 people. This is a mass party.
Since Tabogawana is not here to defend himself, can I bring him next week?
No, bring him. He has a chair here.
Yeah.
But you will not find me here. Just tell him I said it. You will not find me here.
Bring him, we discuss.
Yes.
So, Ambassador, can I bring Tabogawana
I have
next
no
week?
problem.
Yes.
Then you discuss.
Yeah, then they will talk. Now, you have a scenario where, as if us, the people of Zambia, who elected this administration, we don't know what we are doing. Because we are constantly reminded about the Patriotic Front, and many people don't like it because they know why they removed the PF. The people of Zambia want deliverables. They want this government to say, we are moving forward. This is what we are doing. This is what, not to be told how bad the PF was. We know it. We were all
That's why you voted that way.
That's why we went to vote. So don't insult our intelligence. Do what you promised. Fix it. And avoid fixing individuals. Fix the challenges that we face. Don't turn you as the executive into the law enforcement apparatus that must harass every individual. And people have lost interest in these harassments. Let me tell them this. People are not interested because these frequent police raids are becoming totally unacceptable to our constitutional democracy. It's abuse and it must come to an end.
In fact, I need to support you there. It's clear abuse, like what they are doing to the former president. I worked with former President Dr. Frederick Chiluba. The state never bothered about the truth. The state never bothered. They scandalized him, presented him as a thief, proceeded to seize his assets. You've seen 20 years later, his family is crying for the assets that their father worked for. We have seen this scheme being repeated, where the former president now, President Edgar Lungu, is being subjected to the same display for me of misconduct. That's what I call it. You mean a man who was president for 7 years cannot afford a farm, cannot afford to buy a child cars, cannot afford to, you ran 3 elections that cost in excess of $40 million. Has anyone asked why is Davis Mwila in court? Because he paid a media organization. Why isn't Katukwa from the UPND, he also in court? Because they ran similar amounts, similar costings to run that elections. So we see abuse of state institutions to punish former leaders and former presidents. This is why the fight against corruption degenerates. People no longer respect it because it's fight for individuals. It's not the fight against corruption. I feel pity for President Edgar Lungu because for me I see him, the relief of how Dr. Chiluba was humiliated, caught a thief, and all his assets and the assets of his children, you know, taken away from him unfairly by the bully and use of the law. And we are seeing the same thing happen all over again. It doesn't mean, sorry, Pastor, it doesn't mean that we say president should rule with impunity. No, we're not saying that. But the abuse of the law to try to destroy your political opponents should come to an end.
I want to say, Mr. Changala, in my duty as a pastor, my wife and I were in Nairobi and we prayed for a lady who was advisor to Arab Moi. And she is a believer, we prayed for her, and then as we were talking, when I discovered she was advisor to the president, one thing she said, Pastor Chiluba, you know why in Kenya and in Africa we fight for each other, against each other? The amount of money presidents receive without your knowledge, it's amazing. And these are not, they are gifts which are given. That office carries everything you want on earth. So when you see that, like President Chiluba was persecuted, and the family, my sister Vera Chiluba, I don't even know what she's eating, the children, the government hasn't given them that. Same with the president, what's his name, Rupia Banda, may so rest in peace. He went through the same thing.
And he said,
President Edgar Lungu is going through.
And even this one will go through the same. Because we need to break this cycle and allow the law enforcement agencies to carry out their daily functionaries. This is how we do where there is law and order. Not where the politicians who have just come from an election insulting each other. Now one of the two parties has got power and uses that executive power to punish the other opposition. Because here there is no professionalism, zero. You know, when the president came into power, there is Gazette Notice 1123, which was signed by the Secretary of Cabinet, Simon Miti, moving the SEC to the President's office, DEC to the President's office. Everything is to the President, and he cannot disengage himself. When in opposition, we said Judge Musonda, Philip Judge Musonda, wrote articles on how to make this institution independent of the executive. I laugh because I see human beings not fair to themselves. You allow somebody to write literature on how SEC, DEC to reform the country. That's when you do the opposite. And the author of those documentation starts looking at you as a cheat. Because ACC has got a board. That board should report to Parliament. And the board, ideally, must appoint the Director General, sworn by Parliament, with security of tenure, such that if they go and invade the executive for whatever misdemeanor, because most corruption and abuses are in the arm of the executive. That's where the chaos is.
So are you saying that the anti-corruption DEC, they report to the president?
Yes.
They are under his office?
They are under his office. Let anybody refuse that. It's there. The Gazette notice is only 15 kwacha. You can buy it. 11.23. It's there. The office of the Electoral Commission of Zambia is gazetted to fall under the Vice President office.
It was moved.
Now, you want to have a genuine, fair election, and yet the executive is controlling these institutions.
So, before, when you say they are under his wings, it simply means maybe before they investigate you, they can tell him to say, we are investigating.
Or vice versa. You can tell them, investigate Pastor Chiru. He's in charge. Ultimately, he's in charge. And I can safely say here that Anti-Corruption Commission, there are cases which they are not investigating, which we know about, which they are not investigating, involving very senior government officers.
I reported 4 major cases.
But they concentrate only investigating the previous regime. Then, hence this name you are hearing, they are angels.
Mr. Changala, we are into news time. Honorable Ambassador Mwamba, can I confirm to the nation that when I call Mr. Kawana and yourself, without arguments, we speak progressively, can we meet next week?
I have no problem. I have discussed with UPND officials. Like I say, for me, I discuss policies and issues. I'm not personal. And I just invite them also to be the same. Let's discuss national issues.
They must also be inviting us to ZMBC. We are also making a request here. We want that nature of politics.
You are not invited yet.
Oh, who can?
I haven't been on ZMBC. I've been on many public platforms. I haven't been on ZMBC for almost 2 years.
And what is surprising, these are the changes we fought for. And the ZMBC board is run by a colleague, Mr. Jackie Kalala, and one of my closest colleagues, Dante Sanders. And I expected a revolutionary change at ZMBC.
For it to become a public broadcaster.
To become a public broadcaster like South African Broadcasting, where Julius Malema can use the same platform to attack the government. I want to go there also and go for them. And no repercussions to the guy who invited
Who invites you.
Yes. That's the spirit we want. This country, we voted for a change, and we demand change.
I hear you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Changala, for
and good night to everybody.
Thank you so much. Ambassador, thank you so much for coming. You want to say something?
Thank you, Pastor. No, thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah.
I think we should remember the core principles of this country. Our people want to be better governed. That's why they wake up at 0304. They want change. And the impatience you see in all of us, those that are from the opposition and our own citizens, is that they expect things to be better than in the past. So if you see a repeat and recurrence of past mistakes justified, we all get alarmed. And we have a duty to speak. And so thank you very much, Pastor, you and your management and your producers for according us this opportunity to speak to the nation on these cardinal issues.
I'm most grateful. Well, dear your Camnet TV viewers, there you have it. I had Mr. Changala and Ambassador Mwamba discussing human rights concerns in Zambia. Those of you who sent text messages and who were unable to read them, I promise you that I'm going to download them, and then when I meet Ambassador Mwamba and Tabo Kawana next week, God willing, we are going to read some of those so that they can answer And I'm most grateful to my beautiful wife, who is the CEO of this company, CAMNET. I say thank you. To the young people who labor tirelessly to make CAMNET what it is, the news crew, the technical team, you are just fantastic. To the church leadership and you viewers, you are amazing. May the Lord continue to bless this nation. And my appeal to law enforcing officers, be human. I've been your pastor and host, Pastor Moses Chilwa. Until next time, keep watching CAMNET TV. And remember, CAMNET TV is not just another channel. Bye-bye.